Hey everyone, welcome to the conclusion of the back nine final round coverage of the 2017 Jonesboro Open. Big sexy commentary coming at you guys. I'm Jeremy Koling, joined by Nate Sexton.
Hello.
And we have a really interesting battle here. We have Ricky, who started the round off pretty much clear of the field by a lap, is now only got 5 strokes in front of JohnE McCray and Simon Lizotte. And Chris Dickerson is at 26 under. He's in good position for a solid finish as well.
Oh, no. Yeah, Simon and Johnny, up until that moment right there, maybe, were really both charging. And, I mean, momentum is definitely on their side. Ricky coming in with that huge lead. But, you know, they're on pace to make it very interesting by the end if things keep going the way they have been.
Yeah, the one thing that makes this hole really tough for the sidearm is the low ceiling, and the one thing that makes this hole really tough for the backhand anhyzer is that early gap, and we saw both things get tested there with Simon's shot hitting the ceiling and Johnny turning his drive over just a bit early.
Look at Rick here, though, just controlling the skip perfectly.
And that is the first time that he has actually got one inside the circle in this hole, which is kind of surprising for a player with his forehand ability. It's a strongly favored forehand hole. So it's something that I kind of thought this would be one of those holes that Ricky was gaining strokes in the field, but maybe not until that tee shot.
He was taking some pretty big skips, wasn't he? Like almost going long.
Yeah, he had a couple of nice shots earlier in the tournament that I thought were really what you were looking to throw, and somehow he just creates that extra Ricky spin, and it hits the hillside, and it like almost gets thrown again. He throws it so hard. It just like launches off the hillside.
Simon is having the struggle here, trying to get out of that first spot, and he hit another tree, fall into the rough again, and now forced a layup and just walk away with bogey.
Yeah, if you're trying to climb back 5 back to Ricky Wysocki with 9 holes to go, bogeying hole 10 is not the way to do it.
Especially when Ricky's 6 feet away. That's going to definitely throw a wrench in the spokes of Simon's comeback bid.
And nothing interesting there from Johnny or Chris, just getting your approach within 10 feet and move on to the next. This hole with the elevated basket on the side hill, really don't want to have a putt longer than 25 feet on this hole, because if you miss that one, then you're going to have a putt from about 45.
Yikes. A great birdie from Ricky, though. I mean, when you're in his position, leading the tournament by a couple shots, those birdies just feel great because you just know, a couple more birdies and there's no way anybody can catch you. If you can keep those up and just get a little bit farther under par, then at a certain point you're uncatchable statistically. I mean, there's just not enough holes left.
Right. He's doing a good job of being the commander, dictating the pace of the round, and the other players trying to catch him can only do so much. The holes are running out here, and he's just getting birdies like that makes it almost impossible for anyone to catch him.
What do we got here? Kind of a left breaking.
Yeah, so here's the hole where the intent was to throw not as wide as Ricky has gone here, but that seems to work out. You want to throw about 400 feet off the tee, and if it fades left, good, but you do not want to go left too soon, because there's kind of a gap that you're really trying to just make it right in the middle of. And that appears to be almost, that's pretty much perfect. He's going to have a nice angle into the green from there. If that had been 5-10 feet shorter, then he would have been in a bit of danger. But he's just on the edge, which is going to allow him to throw. And the headwind in this hole really made it difficult to really trust throwing your driver. You didn't know if it was going to lift. You didn't know where it was going to go. And so the way to avoid that is to go with something overstable and just rip it as Simon's done. That looks to be, that's the best shot that you can possibly throw on this hole. He's got maybe 130 feet, 140 feet left to the pin from there. So that's
a good situation to be in on a par 4.
Every time. And a beautiful flex shot from Chris. He had a really tough angle, just a little bit shorter than he wanted to be off the tee. And so Johnny was I guess that's not where Johnny wants to be. If you've seen Johnny throw a sidearm, he's doing something that he doesn't do very often.
Yeah, that's a rare sight for sure.
And Ricky was a bit wider than he'd like to be, so he's kind of cut off in the angle. He's going to have to go pretty high and stall it back in, which isn't really that much of a problem for him.
It looks like you'll have a putt there from the fringe.
And something interesting actually came about on this hole. Not something you see very often as Simon makes a nice little routine turnover. They actually put a mandatory mid-tournament on this hole because Simon was playing the hole almost perpendicular to where the tee shot was designed to go. And the tee shot was landing out in the fairway of oncoming hole 9. Just a little bit too low there. And that is not the rollaway that you're looking for in this wind. Oh, wow. It's gonna be a tough putt for par. But for safety and for flow of the course, nice putt there from Rick.
Definitely.
Wow. For safety and for flow, they added a mandatory to make sure that all competitors were going up the original designed fairway.
It's kind of Chris just not quite able to connect. But yeah, that's something Simon can do to a course. I mean, he's a very creative player, always looking up at over the top routes. Yeah. And you can't really fault a course designer for not seeing some of the stuff that he sees. You know, he's going to come and show you some stuff you didn't think was possible.
Right. I mean, if you want to make a course tiger-proof in disc golf, invite Simon to your course and see what kind of routes he's looking at. I want to play practice rounds with him because the things that he does in tournament, I'm like, I didn't even think of that, you know?
Yeah.
So tough break there for Chris. After a rollaway or a spit out or a air ball, it seems like so many players seem to miss their next putt low. Something to be learned from that somehow. I don't know what it is, but
kind of a risk-reward shot off the tee here. You have to kind of clear this out-of-bounds trench, kind of defined by hay bales.
Yeah, that trench is kind of far from the tee, but it's so far downhill that I can't imagine anyone laying this hole up. And that's the one thing you don't want to do. There's
that was. You think was he going with the Anheuser the whole time and not taking that big hyzer window?
It's not really. You want to. I don't think that I saw anyone try to throw an intentional hyzer. And if that, oh my gosh, had that gotten through, he might have been looking at an eagle putt.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what was going through Ricky's head here. That tree is the only thing that you have to avoid because it's right in the middle of OB. If you hit it, there's almost no way you're going to get through and be safe. And so that was a bit of a mental break there from Rick.
Almost had to be a misrelease, I would think. You had to be thinking of some other shot because you can't be bringing that tree into play.
Right. And I guess the tricky part is if you go straight as Johnny and Chris have done there, and this is looking nice. If this sits down, that is that's a really quality shot, but he's still 55 feet onto an impossible green. So I don't see him saving par from there, but it is Ricky Wysocki, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But
it really looks like a tough green to stick the disc.
There's no way that you can see from this video how sloped this green is. It is almost impossible to get up that hill and down that hill on that green. And somehow, every single time that I saw JohnE McCray play this hole, besides this time, he actually managed to do that. But that was what he did there by flying over the pin and going down the hill is something that you're going to see most times from players who aren't as good as he is.
Yeah, really hard to control the speed. But it looked like Chris did a decent job. Chris left himself inside circle 1.
Right. He threw something a bit more overstable, it looked like, so that that needs to sit. Okay. Once it went down the hill, it was kind of hyzering back into the hillside instead of holding that Anheuser. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we nearly saw one of the signature JohnE McCray 50-foot turbos. Very close.
It'd be so cool to see him hit one of those on camera again.
It won't be long, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nice birdie from Chris. Textbook, really. I mean, he put it right up the middle of the fairway, and then a smooth approach right into that tough green.
And as tricky as this green is, this hole seemed to be playing quite easy. There were a lot of star frames in this hole, and I think that as difficult as it seemed to be on paper, all the players were playing this pretty well. So that's kind of a surprising. The card got out of there at even par is really surprising to me. Even as windy as that hole was, it was a pretty straightforward tee shot. So nice birdie from Chris, though.
Maybe we got to borrow from the PGA. I mean, these guys are good.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of the most awkward angle par threes you're going to play. Incredibly far uphill, incredibly tight. You're not throwing a U-turn, but you're throwing something that has to hold hyzer, stay relatively low in the height, and still make it uphill the whole way. There's so many different things that you're challenging with this tee shot.
Yeah, that looked like he did everything you just said, and he's still 60 feet away.
Right. And Simon has birdied this hole the first 3 rounds, partly because he was throwing tee shots like that.
Wow.
That is so good. It is so hard to commit to that line as close to those trees as he's going. You hit one of those trees and you're almost guaranteed to get a bogey. And he committed to that super tight line, and he has to throw it so hard. And you're going to see what Johnny did there most of the time from the players. And so there you go. There's Ricky hitting one of those early trees. See if he can actually prove me wrong and get up and down.
Looks like he found a little backdoor route.
And
he hasn't left himself a tap in.
No, and that's one of the reasons that it's almost impossible for a lefty to birdie this hole. Even if they do go the backdoor route, which is kind of there off the tee.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah, from way downtown.
That might be outside circle 2.
That is awesome.
Huge birdie.
Yeah, great job from Chris there. But as I was saying, even if the lefty does hit that gap, the green slopes away. So it's just an incredibly difficult hole.
Oh, man. Rick just off the right side to save his par. And Simon has an opportunity for 2 strokes here.
Yeah, get the 2 back that he lost on 10, and there you go. All of a sudden, he's right back in the mix.
A lot more drama than Ricky was planning for, I think.
Yeah, he was looking for an Easter Sunday walk in the park, and with 9 strokes, you kind of earned that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There's still there's 5 holes to go, and he's only 4 back.
All right, back on hole 14. This is pretty cool hole. Straight away, OB to clear. I mean, really a big thrower's par 3.
Yeah, this is you have to throw a driver here, but you have to throw something that is going to stay straight because you don't have the wide hyzer line. It is a really difficult, incredibly demanding tee shot. And if you turn one over to the right, there's a lot of trees you can hit that drop you straight OB. And if you fade out left like Chris has there, it's kind of a tricky approach because it's very thickly guarded on the left side of the basket.
Yeah, the final gap down into the green looks really narrow.
It's incredibly narrow, and this shot is so beautiful. Oh,
Holy cow.
oh yes.
Parks it just past the pin, 520 feet.
And that's not even the best shot he's thrown in this hole this week.
Incredible.
Making it look so easy. And that's got to get, otherwise, yeah, that's OB.
Oh, no. And
Yeah,
what is he? Is there a drop zone here? Does he just take it where he crossed?
He'll go to the hay bales where he crossed over. No special rule here.
Ricky's not going to get the flip he needs out of that shot.
No, he had thrown OB once before on this hole, and he wasn't trying to do anything special there. Trying to just avoid making any sort of catastrophic mistake.
Smart, probably. Johnny with a good-looking shot.
Ooh, just kind of stopped where it hit. He's going to have maybe 5 or 6 feet further of a putt than he wanted to have with that approach coming in there.
Oh, no. Yeah, Chris went too far to have the hyzer coming back, so he had to take that tricky shot, and it looks like he has fallen into yet another tricky lie.
And you can see, how thickly guarded that right side is. You can
Can't even see him.
Where is he?
I think he's down behind those logs.
How do you know that?
I could see him. I was just saying you probably can't see him, but I could.
My eyes ain't so good no more.
Oh no. So Johnny's gonna have to settle for double bogey to Simon's birdie.
And what do we have here? Is there a 3-stroke differential between Ricky and Simon now?
Pretty insane, but I think you're right.
That's just like, and Simon's made plenty of mistakes. He bogeyed hole 10.
Yeah.
He didn't have a perfect front nine. He had a good front nine, but he's right there in the mix.
Absolutely.
And that might go on the disc retrieval Hall of Shame there from Johnny. But you can see, that right side where Chris landed that's not easy. But Simon with just a huge birdie there.
You got a nice professional hole when it gives you that rainbow scoring of 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, a lot of things can happen to a bunch of great players.
And probably Simon's favorite hole in the course, the easiest hole in the course in terms of handicap. The second easiest.
The site of Simon's ace, right? Which round did he hit the ace?
I believe it was the 3rd round.
Nice. Can he back it up? No, a little low. But I think he's happy with that.
Unfortunately, he's going to have to settle with a birdie. And I believe Ricky is throwing his triple X. And this hole's only 270 feet, but I think that the fairway driver play / driver play was the more popular play just because there wasn't a lot of skippage off this hillside. So players could throw something that kind of dug into the hill and would just sit. And that is Chris Dickerson's M2, I believe. But don't quote me on that. But
everybody's in the circle. Just kind of what you'd expect from this hole. I'm a little curious as to why the players aren't taking a little bit of a higher line. Are there some branches kind of stopping you from taking a spikier shot?
The only thing that I can think of is that there was, if you bring that shot higher, the wind has more ability to play tricks with the shot. But I think most players were kind of going for a medium height hyzer. 270 feet, there's really no need to throw a spike hyzer at this short of a range.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think they're just trying to throw a slow driver speed, something with that sharp edge so that when it hits the hillside, it's more on a dig angle than a skip angle.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever they're doing is working great because we just saw a nice star frame there, everybody connecting on their putts.
So Ricky's at 37, Simon 34. Johnny fell back a bit with his 5. He's at 30. And on to hole 16.
And if you could ever think of a hole where you could kind of make something happen, this looks like a good candidate.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the best holes in the course. I've said many times I don't believe it's a par 5, but it's the only hole that is labeled a par 5 on the course. And there's probably 3 that could all have that name of par 5, but they're all just kind of super pro par 4s. And Simon's plan this hole all week was to just throw it 450 to 470 and just kind of finish out there to the left, which opened up the hyzer approach to the green.
That sounds like a good thing. Is it at all possible to reach out of bounds off the tee pad, or is that way too far?
It's way too far to reach out of bounds off the tee shot, but what is reachable is the woods there over to the right. And if you do go over there, it is death.
Okay.
So you really want to avoid anything that turns over and doesn't hyzer back. That's pretty textbook because he's going to have a option to go down the gut. There's a 1 straight shot. If you do not have the straight shot, most players will have to go huge and hyzer or big hyzer over the top.
And how far is the water carry, would you say?
From where these drives are landing to getting across the water is probably 350 to 375 or so.
Okay, that's no joke.
And so there you see Ricky just taking all the out of bounds, out of play, being the smart professional he is, just giving himself an outside look at eagle.
Oh yeah, and so this is that gap. Chris gets rewarded with that nice straight shot to put himself right here. Oh, but he's not really getting any turnover.
And he as well is inside circle 2. No need to do anything insane here. You know, if you go OB, there's a drop zone. And that's wow, he was really far right behind the stuff. Let's see, does he make it? Oh, he does go out of bounds there.
Oh.
Right where that tree is where the out of bounds starts, and he was really close to getting safe. And as you can see, Simon put himself in prime position. That was not the approach he was looking for, but
he avoids the tree at least.
Right. Where he was, that tree really gets in the way for the hyzer, and if it was a little bit less windy, he might have been able to try to attack the huge hyzer that just spiked right over that tree. But with as much wind as we had out there, if you get it really high, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's a good recovery by Johnny. Credible effort by Ricky there, too, to try to make the eagle, but I think he'll be happy with birdie.
And that's to get within 2 strokes, so Simon's definitely feeling the flow here. And
definitely would have been nice to hit that shot, a big eagle putt, but he'll be coming back with a just edge of circle 1 birdie putt, it looks like.
Wow, and now he's actually further than he was last putt, and this is going to be for his 5.
Now coming back for par. Oh, no. Oh, he's down. Simon is down.
And that ends really any realistic chance that he had at the title here.
Yes, that was not the right time for that to happen. Tough when the spin putt is a little off in the wind. That's what you're gonna see. He's kind of going back and forth and about to drop 2 strokes here to Rick. Only 2 holes remain, so Simon knows it. You can kind of see in his body language. He knows that, you know, a good comeback bid has officially fallen short. Birdie from Chris, though. That's nice.
Yeah, birdies from Chris and Ricky, and Simon and Johnny are dropping strokes to the field there, or to the card.
Yeah.
And
Johnny
that
was actually a pretty good save, getting up and down from the drop zone at least.
hole 17 is, gosh, it has to be the toughest tee shot for. It's a tough tee shot for lefties because most every shot slopes down to the woods, which is death. And really the play is a right-hand backhand flex.
Okay. But you have some OB on the left.
Right, that's why you want to have the flex. You want to keep it landing straight, just like, well, I was gonna say like Ricky's done, but even that one went out of bounds.
So he just threw it too far.
Right, and the angle, the way that they set this triple Mando up, it really kind of forced the issue to throw the hard Anheuser to land flat, and that actually I thought was turned over too much. But as you can see, that's in really good position.
Yeah, it looks like it flexed back nicely.
Just barely kept it over the hillside, which is exactly what you want to do. And Johnny does the same thing. Those are both great tee shots. And look at that little camera shot there. Nice shadow. Little shadow cameo.
And I'm guessing Simon's going to try to go huge.
Yeah, I'm sure he's thinking I need to get an ace here. And that's pretty much like the same thing as an ace. That's the longest tee shot. Longest tee shot maybe anyone's ever thrown in this hole.
Nice. And it looks like he's got a fairly open line.
Johnny with his quote-unquote overstable shield that only seems to go right.
It had a little hint of stability there.
Yeah, I just think when he throws it, it may be overstable. I'm not going to say it's not. But when he throws it, he throws the disc so hard. There's maybe no one in the game that commits the putter shots and throws them harder than Johnny. He just really just puts his whole body into it. It's a lot of fun to watch him throw those.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris had a little bit of low ceiling action to deal with. Looks like he got through to a gettable putt, though, if he can step up and nail one.
Really
nice
fast
shot
green.
from Rick.
Yeah, fast green. Pitches his harp right up there. And that's a nice little recovery shot.
So Simon was barely in bounds there.
Yeah, and he throws his C-line P2, I believe that is, from Simon. And we were given, the players were given 1.5 meters relief from barbed wire.
Oh, yeah, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Great putt.
Robot chicken.
I like the barbed wire relief. That's a smart, all you TDs out there, it's a smart decision. Just make sure nobody's worrying about injuring themselves. Another nice putt.
Great downhill putt there from Johnny. That chains out right side, just barely chains out right side. He's got no less than 28 feet coming back.
Wow.
So, 3 birdies on this hole. This was playing at least through 2 rounds as the 5th hardest hole in the course. I feel like it may have been even harder than that.
Wow.
Just with the out of bounds and how tough that rough is on the right side. So really nicely done there from Simon, Johnny, and Chris, and a really good recovery from Ricky to get his 4.
Yeah. All right, the final hole. We got one last bruiser, right? I mean, this one is no joke.
This is the hardest hole in the course, both according to handicap statistics and just when you play the hole, you're like, I don't even see how you could 3 this hole. Even with the perfect tee shot, there's still a lot of difficulties that make this hole hard on your approach. So it takes 2 fantastic tee shots to get even a remote look at birdie on this one.
Oh man, did Chris come down right in the middle of that?
That little bunker there was just magnetic for discs. I mean, it seemed like every single shot that wasn't thrown perfect somehow managed to find itself in that little 15 to 30 foot radius area, and there's nothing from in there. I'll tell you, because I was in there 3 times.
Oh no.
But that's exactly what you have to do there. If you're going to go the big high hyzer, you have to throw it even wider than you think, because there is a gap between that bunker and there's a tree behind it. And
oh wow, where is Ricky going here?
I have no idea. I did not see anyone do that. So this is kind of interesting. I have no idea what he has from back there.
I think there was some discussion about whether or not he was in or out of bounds, like based on some OB line painted way up the fairway, but they eventually decided that he was, in fact, in bounds.
Yeah, one thing that you have to do as a tournament director is complete all your OB lines. And if you don't, then what is assumed that OB line continues infinitely in that same direction. This was like the first big event that Arkansas has run, and I don't know how long it's been, but certainly being on the Pro Tour was a new stage for them.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things you can learn. And there's a couple different occasions. One hole I can think of is hole 5, where an OB line just stopped, and it was assumed that it continued until the next OB line. And that's something that you just have to kind of learn from. Make sure if you do have an OB line, you continue all the way through. And back to the shot there that Simon threw. Wow.
Yeah,
perfect
you
shot.
You said you were wondering earlier, like, how to birdie it. So
yeah,
I would say just kind of look there at what Simon did, because that appears to be the perfect way.
Yeah, that was a clinic. Perfect tee shot, perfect approach. And little guest commentary from Joby.
Yeah, Joby the dog. He liked that from Simon as well. He's here with me, and he enjoyed that a lot.
Nice shot from Rick. He'll have about 24 feet left to claim his title.
Whoa.
And I think the wind was better from above the basket, and I think that's why Chris putted up there.
Oh, he still wanted to make kind of a crowd-pleasing putt, but he wanted to align himself a little better.
Yes.
Good tournament from JohnE.
Well done. Really awesome birdie there from Simon.
What could have been, Simon? What could have been? I mean, man,
yeah.
what a comeback bid, though. Great round. Chris just looking to get out of here at this point. That's kind of a tough way to finish.
Still a respectable finish.
Absolutely.
He played solid 4 rounds, and here's Ricky's putt to be claimed. Oh, no, not quite.
Just a formality now, though. Rick did what he needed to do to hold off that charge. Obviously put together 3 fantastic rounds to where he was so far ahead that he could absorb even one of his worst rounds of the year, most likely, and still come away with the win. So that's just speaking to how great he played the first 3 days.
Yeah, and I think that part of it might have been he wanted to just rub it in a bit more. Like, I can miss this putt and still win by 2.
So there you have it. Ricky 37, Simon 35, Nico with a bogey-free, I think, -11 round to finish.
Yeah, he killed it. Fortunately, Chris's missed putt didn't cause him any placement. He finished in 5th place. Overall, incredible tournament. Really well done by Jonesboro staff, and we really had a great time at the course. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate the Jomez work and commentary from Nate. Catch you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.